All right, thank you very much. I want to start by welcoming and appreciating the presence of Ms. Narad Gumbons Vander, Deputy Executive Director of UN Women. Narad is extremely well known to many of us, especially in the faith sector, having in her distinguished career served, amongst other things, as General Secretary of the World YWCA. And it's wonderful to have you with us now in this capacity, Narad. Thank you so much for coming to be with us in person. The floor is yours.
2014, I was with the World YWCA, and when the interagency network was established. So it feels good to be home within the faith network, the religious communities. And thank you for the invitation, and thank you to our co-hosts, and thank you to colleagues in the UN. When I was appointed to the role as the Assistant Secretary General last year and was leaving my village to come to the UN, and I was asking myself, I'm coming from community and faith, and you are used to even start with song, then sings my soul. I'm like, am I allowed to do that in the UN? I bring that perspective to say the UN and the work we do is about people, about everyday life experiences, about that which it means to say we are people grounded in the ethos of humanity, of dignity, of justice, and of rights. I also want to really, at the outset, as I appreciate the co-sponsors, also appreciate our colleagues at UNFPA for holding the fort for us and for keeping the light for us. Yesterday, in that building, at some floor, we sat for 2 days as leadership within the UN, and we're discussing sustainable development and where we are and where multilateralism is and what are the challenges of the moment. Naturally, the role of faith and culture was on the table. In a profound way, we thought it would be a 30-minute discussion, and we rolled on and on and on and on, and the issue permeated all the conversations that we have. So let me just give a perspective of where we are in multilateralism from my role and also our perspective as UN women. First is that when the UN was founded in 1945-46, it was at the ashes of war. It was building from that which we say the world should not be. And it was about building a global community of solidarity and of shared values. And that solidarity of shared values was expressed in multilateralism and in core values which are within the UN Charter and which are within the Bill of Rights. And within the UN Charter and the Bill of Rights, if we look at Article 55, it was very clear that it's about we the people. It starts with we the people. It didn't say we the Black people, we the people with disabilities, we the people from this corner of the world. It's about we the people. Equality is at the heart of multilateralism. Non-discrimination is at the heart of multilateralism. A world free of conflict, of war, a world of peace is at the heart of multilateralism. A world in which a little girl can dance, singing, going to the river to fetch water, or a mother go to the garden and plant and pick the vegetables without fear that the soil is contaminated. That of the coexistence of people and planet is the essence. But today, that dream and vision is yet to be achieved. I have righteous anger. In this space, I can use that word. I have righteous anger, and this symposium together is for us to get divine courage together. We need to be courageous now more than before. We are angry because we are bearing our own due to preventable causes. Due to human causes, we are traumatized to the wars that we can't even count from which country to which country. Whether we are talking about the situation in Gaza, we are talking about the Ukraine, what we are calling gang rapes in Haiti, 167 women raped out of a crisis in DRC. The pain and the trauma of us as a people at this moment is painful. And that is accompanied by very conscious and intentional decisions. In 2023, military expenditure, according to UN data, was more than $4.3 trillion. And in the same year, over 100 million girls were not in school. And yet, as UN Women, as UNFPA, UNHCR, we ask questions. How are you preventing gender-based violence and abuse in conflict? I'm like, just to stop the war, buy one helicopter less, put that money to education, to community dialogue, to finding solutions. Because we can't bomb our families and then say, how are you dealing with the displaced? And yet there's no money for that humanitarian. So the contradiction of values of that which multilateralism aspires for and that which is the reality in our countries by the same governments is one issue. The second, which is very painful, is the notion that discrimination can still be allowed. Our work is at UN and as UN Women on advancing gender equality, the rights and empowerment of women and girls is not an ideology. It's a profound value rooted in human rights, rooted in our holy texts, that we are all born in dignity and rights. We are born in the image of the Creator, each one of us. So discrimination has no place or space in the world today. And yet, what we are also seeing within the hard negotiations of multilateralism is whether discrimination should be allowable or not. And again, we are all endowed with the gift of discernment. Each one of us, we can make decisions, especially adults on our issues, and for children in their evolving capabilities. But we continue to see a world in which women are not recognized as having decisions about their bodies, about their families, about the ecosystem around them. I served as the AU ambassador on ending child marriage. I'm saying to my faith community, what you are calling child marriage is being justified in your name, in our name. This is rape. This is sexual exploitation, which is being justified on the basis of religion and culture. My faith, my culture, should not be used to abuse. It should be used to value life. So what we see is this conflation in the negotiations in the multilateral spaces to say the positiveness of religion is being undermined by use of the same faith and the same culture to justify and rationalize crime like rape. This is why I really like the Thursdays in Black, is saying, look, we are a society of dignity. Our values is about dignity, respect. It's not about rationalizing and justifying criminal behavior. And therefore, I feel at this moment of multilateralism, what we need is the strong voice of faith, of religion, of leaders on very particular issues, so that we are able to bring that clarity together. The last point I have on multilateralism and where we are at the moment is the UN, is the hard, what we have observed and experienced in the last couple of months, and is around funding. It's okay for member states to make decisions on funding, but it's also how the decisions are made. An abruptness of decisions causes trauma. It causes pressure on the faith community. It means if that local clinic was subsidized for certain treatment and you no longer have that available from the government stores, it means we need a second collection after Mass in order for us to be able to resource that work. So the reduction in funding is also a transfer of public sector responsibilities to communities and to faith communities. And it's a very direct expectation. Me growing up during the war in my country, when we had no food, we would gather at the local church. And the community had to find ways of pulling together the beans and the porridge for us. So when the public is unable to provide, the transfer of responsibilities is to communities. And naturally, we don't close our places of worship when crisis happens. We actually open the doors wider, but with less. And therefore, the conversation around resources is a global conversation. I really want to appreciate so much the role that we continue to play in raising the voices around priority repositioning of values, faith, on issues of inequality and discrimination. Secondly, around strengthening multilateralism, that it's a collective responsibilities of member states to also not be so nationalistic, that multilateralism and the focus on the issues we deal with is not just about national security interest, national economic interest. It's about the collective good of the well-being of humanity. And lastly, that the world, it's not that the world is less, it's more about how the world is prioritizing that which is available, and that prioritization should go to communities. We continue to appreciate our relationships together, and it is a time when we need that divine courage, that boldness to stand up together for us to continue to build a world of multilateralism that faith communities created before the UN was created. Before the UN was created, we were already working multilaterally. And therefore, as a UN, there's a lot that we can also learn from the faith communities and the religious communities in advancing human well-being and the dignity of creation. Thank you very much.
That was incredible. Incredible. We'll say more about that. Thank you very much, Narad. And we're moving on to our second high-level speaker, who is joining us virtually, making a huge sacrifice given the time difference. Wait for it. His Excellency, the Honorable Minister, Dr. Maina Talia, who's the Minister for Home Affairs, Climate Change and Environment in Tuvalu, is joining us remotely and to deliver some opening remarks. Honorable Minister, you have the floor. All right, I think we have a connection challenge. Peter, why don't we introduce the next speaker?
Thank you. We'll keep looking for Minister Talia online in case he arrives. It seems that the connection has dropped, but in the meantime, we move on. And I'd like to introduce Ms. Nika Sedi, who joins us representing UNDP and standing in for Assistant Secretary General Shoko Noda, who was unable to join us today. Nika is the global lead on mental health and psychosocial support and global advisor on religion and development at UNDP. And she's been a long-standing partner and ally in this effort to promote partnership between the UN and the faith sector. Nika, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. It's exactly as you mentioned. It feels being home. And my takeaway is, let your vision be worth embracing. So let that be our motto for today. Distinguished colleagues and partners, it's an honor to join you today at this year's annual symposium. Many thanks to the organizers and to all of you who continue to nurture this space for critical dialogue, action, and reflection. The theme you have chosen, the future is upon us, what now, is not only timely but urgent. At this juncture in global affairs, we face an unprecedented convergence of crises. Deepening inequality, escalating conflict, climate disruption, digital divides, shrinking civic spaces, and erosion of trust in institutions. And yet, this is also a time of extraordinary opportunity, an opportunity to reimagine our shared future, grounded in inclusion, dignity, and collective responsibility. As the United Nations Development Agency, UNDP is committed to walk alongside the people and institutions and our partners, sister agencies, and faith-based organizations to drive change, especially in the most fragile and complex settings. And among the most vital partners in this effort are the world faith-based actors and religious leaders. Faith shapes the daily lives, values and aspirations of billions of people. And in times of uncertainty and upheaval, it often becomes an anchor, a force for resilience, hope, and cohesion. For many communities, faith actors are the first to respond to crisis and last to leave. They hold moral authority, local legitimacy, and vast convening power. This is why UNDP partnership with faith-based actors is not symbolic. It's strategic and essential. In 2023 alone, we worked in more than 20 countries to integrate faith actors into national and local strategies for peace-building, inclusion, mental health, and sustainable development. We do this because we know that faith-based actors are critical enablers of transformative, locally owned solutions. Let me illustrate these two examples. For example, in Iraq, UNDP worked with over 130 religious leaders from different traditions and backgrounds to promote reconciliation and social cohesion in areas recovering from ISIL occupations. These religious leaders received training on human rights, conflict resolution, dialogue principles, and reintegration strategies for former ex-combatants and their families. They did not simply speak to their communities, they listened, mediated, and helped build a new social fabric from the ashes of war. Importantly, participants themselves urged us to include women of faith in future trainings, highlighting the need to leverage their unique influence in promoting peace. For example, in Tanzania, UNDP collaborated with religious leaders in Zanzibar to promote peace and social cohesion through a people-centered, value-based approach. These leaders led community outreach in churches, mosques, markets, and public gatherings, delivering message of justice, inclusion, and shared humanity. More than 14,000 people, especially youth, were reached through this initiative, which intentionally bridge differences across faith, gender, and generation. These examples are not exceptions. They are part of a growing body of work across regions from Afghanistan and Philippines to Mali, Tajikistan, and Central Asia, where faith actors are at the front line of addressing violent extremism, safeguarding civic space, and promoting mental well-being through culturally and spiritually grounded approaches. These are just a few reflections of the depths and diversity of our joint efforts. And yet, even as we strengthen this partnership, we face a difficult reality. Civil society space is shrinking. Funding is an issue that we are all facing. And exactly as you mentioned, it's not the funding cut, it's the way that it has been handled. Religious and spiritual actors, despite their contribution, are too often absent from national and multilateral policy spaces. The Pact for the Future, adopted by world leaders in last September, reminds us that governance must be inclusive and participatory if it's to be effective. The 2030 Agenda to rest on the foundational commitment to leave no one behind. That must include faith actors, particularly those working at the grassroots levels. That is why UNDP supports this symposium's call to amplify the voice of faith and civil society actors in global policy making. This is not simply about moral argument, it's about better outcome. When communities are meaningfully included in the decision that affects them, peace lasts longer. Development becomes more sustainable, and institutions become more trusted. As we mark key anniversaries that you mentioned quite a lot in the queue, we are here to think about the practical requirements for peace. Let me conclude with this. Faith matters, not only because it resonates deeply with people's identity and worldview, but because it offers a path forward, rooted in shared values. At UNDP, we remain committed to walking this path with you, as partner, as advocates, and as co-creator of solutions. Let us seize this moment to build a future that is not only possible, but profoundly just. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nika. Nika is a long-standing, long-serving partner and leader in this space. Thank you on behalf of UNDP. We still don't have a minister online. Okay, so let us move along and invite none other than the esteemed Bishop Julius Trimble, General Secretary, General Board of Church and Society United Methodist Church. Sir, you have the floor.
Thank you. Your Excellencies, distinguished international public servants from the UN system, fellow religious representatives, civil society leaders, ladies and gentlemen, beloved of the one human family, all protocols observed. I count it both a joy and a cherished opportunity to welcome you to this international gathering. As previously introduced, I am Bishop Julius C. Trimble, the General Secretary of the United Methodist General Board of Church and Society, with offices in Washington, D.C., and here at the United Nations Center, Church Center. While I am defined and identified often with a particular faith family, I see my primary identity as a child of God, part of one human family with stewardship responsibilities for the care of creation and the uninterrupted pursuit of peace and justice. The effort to promote a just, peaceful, safe, secure, people-centered, human rights-oriented, ethical, and sustainable society is work that calls us to walk and work together, both now and in the future. At this 11th iteration of this symposium, as it has been for the last 10 years, we again emphasize the crucial role of civil society, including religious and faith-based actors in pursuing transformative multilateralism. The United Nations is essential to our collective current and future existence as people, nations, and the planet. The inaugural assembly of the United Nations took place at the Methodist Central Hall in London in 1946. Today, the Church Center for the United Nations, established by the predecessor bodies of the General Board of Church and Society, where in-person participants are now being hosted today, extends a warm welcome for all of our stakeholders who value global collaboration through the United Nations. The legacies of historic injustices and contemporary crises cannot be wished away. This is our season of sustained resistance to all that is divisive and dehumanizing. This is our season of sacred resilience and unbounded hope. All of us stand on the shoulders of those who by faith stood against slavery, colonialism, racism, xenophobia, gender inequity, and the marginalization of indigenous peoples. The divine imprint of human dignity and sacred worth cannot be taken away by the stroke of a pen or the promulgation of any theological or ideological thesis of superiority. Rooted in an intersectional approach to multilateral cooperation, we can approach matters like economic, health, and gender justice, poverty, and pandemics with every effort to remove the obstructions that prohibit the full flourishing of all of humanity. The moral arc of the universe may bend toward justice, but only together we can help bend it with unbounded hope, sustained resistance, and sacred resilience. Friends, we are at our best when we turn toward each other and value our stories, invest in our friendships, and relish our relationships. We are at our best when we accept the invitation of greater collaboration, not less. Look at the world as it is and press forward in making it more compassionate and just. So today is a gift, an unrepeatable moment in time for partnerships and collaboration. In the social principles of the United Methodist Church, we affirm the role of the state and faith community relationship to advancing the common good in the larger society. With unbounded hope in God, who is in all things, allowing light to overcome darkness and love to overcome hatred. So I join you in embracing this opportunity to join a choir of the committed to pursue beloved community, a world free of hunger and violence, where conversations lead to commitments and trust leads to transformation. Welcome, beloved.
Well, thank you very much. Really exceptional opening statements. Thank you so much for this warm welcome and inspiring welcome to all the speakers. I'm assuming that Minister Talia has, no, so we don't unfortunately have the minister with us, which is sad, but I'm sure we'll pick him up on another occasion. Thank you very much, speakers. I'd invite you to resume your seats. I imagine that Deputy Executive Director Narad, you might have to leave us at this point, I imagine. Once again, want to thank you so much for sharing this opening moment with us. There will now be a short transmission, a break in the proceedings while we move into the next panel. I'm going to invite the moderator, Audrey Kitagawa, to take her place, and together with those speakers on this panel who are here in person, to prepare for the next panel session. Please.